First, I am calling on the Federal Department of Energy's Office of Electricity to investigate the blackout. What happened? Could Con Ed have done a better job? And what can be done to prevent this from happening in the past? Mayor de Blasio called me this morning and gave me all the details as he knew them. He's on his way back here. I'm sure you'll get to question him when he comes back. He was in Chicago when he called me. And I'd sum it up by saying this. Con Ed has improved, but they still have to do a lot more. They've improved because unlike the Queens blackout that occurred in 2006, this was fixed quickly. It was fixed in a relatively short amount of time. That is good. On the other hand, it shouldn't happen at all. And God forbid, someone were stuck in an elevator and had a heart attack or a stroke and couldn't get out of that elevator, things would have been worse. Thank God that didn't happen, but we cannot have these blackouts in cities as densely populated as ours. Is Con Ed putting in all the money to upgrade its infrastructure? Wait for the buses. Is Con Ed putting in adequate money to upgrade its infrastructure so these don't happen again? They are happening with less frequency, and this was restored quickly. That's better, but not good enough. Here's what we know as of now. We know that there were 6 transformers, 6 power stations that went down. In all likelihood, it's not certain, there was a transmission wire between 2 of them that failed, and that brought these 6 stations down. We also know that, as best we know, there are no injuries related to this, and we do know that, of course, power was restored within about 6 hours. There's lots of inconvenience, and so I'm also asking the SBA to take a look here, because they will reimburse restaurants and small business owners who might have lost money. Maybe the shows on Broadway lost money because people couldn't see them. Maybe a restaurant that had a refrigerator that went off and the meat went bad. So I'm asking the SBA to look into that as well to see what kind of reimbursement they can make to our restaurant owners. I think that's it on the Con Ed situation. Let's see. Yeah, there were no hospitalizations. There were 2 subway trains that had to be evacuated. They were evacuated with no injuries and no problems. And the hospitals, almost all of them, as many other places, large places, had alternate generators that kicked in. And so that saved problems at hospitals and health facilities. They're supposed to have backup generators, and those seem to work for the hospitals in the catchment area that lost its electricity. Should I take questions on this first? I think I will. I'll do questions on this first.
What goes forward from here, Senator?
Well, first, we want the feds to come in and investigate independently, to work with the state and city to see why this happened. Was Con Ed to blame? And are they putting enough money into their infrastructure and into their resources so it doesn't happen again?
Have you heard from anyone from Con Ed?
Not yet.
We've talked to them.
We have, our office has talked to them, but the mayor's facts that I gave you, the facts that he gave me this morning on the phone are accurate. He's supposed to be here later this afternoon, and I think he's going to speak to the press.
Can you elaborate on the bladder that failed?
Well, we don't know all the details. That seems to be the preliminary. Gotta wait for the bus.
What do you make of
He's next, please. Yeah. Can't. Great. Yeah, it's a noisy bus. Here he goes. The preliminary report is that it was a transmission wire between 2 of the power stations. It failed, and then that created problems in those power stations, which spread to 4 other power stations.
Can you
I don't know enough details to give you any more than that, and that's very preliminary.
Can you compel the Department of Energy to investigate, or can
Yes.
you strongly ask?
Well, we can ask the Department of Energy to investigate. I did ask them to do this in the 2006 blackout in Queens, and they did. Okay, on this subject.
Senator, you and like I can remember the 77 blackout, but it was a breakdown in certain reforms. How do you think New York handled this?
Say that again.
How do you, compared to 77, how do you think New Yorkers handled this?
I think New Yorkers were fabulous. I first want to praise the NYPD and the New York Fire Department and our first responders. They did a fabulous job. Number two, New Yorkers on their own did great things. I heard about a restaurant where the electricity went out, so they couldn't collect cash, and they went on the honor system and continued to serve people. The same valor that New York has always shown in crisis, whether it's after 9/11 or anything else, was shown here. New Yorkers always rise to the occasion, and I am so proud, I think we all are, of how New Yorkers handled this crisis like we handle every other. We're a tough but compassionate breed, and it worked, and people rose to the occasion.